comes from James chapter 3, verse 13, and goes through chapter 4, verse 3. And I will be reading this morning from the NRS View version of the Bible. Let us listen together for the word of the Lord. Who is wise and understanding among you? Show by your good life and your works that your works are done with gentleness, born of wisdom. But if you have bitter envy and selfish ambition in your hearts, do not be arrogant and lie about the truth. This is not wisdom that comes down from above, but is earthly, unspiritual, devilish. For where there is envy and selfish ambition, there will also be disorder and wickedness of every kind. But the wisdom from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, willing to yield, full of mercy and good fruits, without a trace of partiality or hypocrisy. And the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace by those who make peace. Those conflicts and disputes among you, where do they come from? Do they not come from your cravings that are at war within you? You want something and do not have it, so you commit murder, and you covet something and cannot obtain it, so you engage in disputes and conflicts. You do not have because you do not ask. You ask and do not receive because you ask wrongly, in order to spend what you get on your pleasures. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Today marks the final portion of our 4 weeks with the letter we call James. So I think it's appropriate to just take a moment and look back at where we have been together. In week 1, Pastor Karen preached about being hearers and doers of the word, what it means to live an embodied faith. The second week, we talked about faith and works, the faith of Jesus, the loving our neighbor kind of faith. Last week, week 3, on our Day of Caring Sunday, we heard about the power of words and how words create worlds of all kinds. That brings us to today. Today, as you read through the book of James, there seems to be some kind of shift in the author's language and approach. In today's passage, the author appears to garner inspiration from the ancient wisdom tradition, specifically mimicking the style and even the words of the book of Proverbs and a text called the Wisdom of Solomon, which is a part of the deuterocanonical or apocryphal writings. In these texts, and here in our text this morning, the author writes of wisdom. And wisdom seems to be more than an idea, a concept, or a personality trait, or the power to judge rightly. In these texts, wisdom is actually personified. In fact, in the ancient wisdom tradition, wisdom is understood as divine. According to the book of Proverbs, wisdom was there from the beginning of all things, and she has been there since. Nothing was without her presence. In Proverbs, we read that wisdom is more precious than jewels, and nothing you desire can compare with her. In the Wisdom of Solomon, the author writes, wisdom is the breath of the power of God and a pure effluence flowing from the glory of the Almighty. Therefore, can no defiled thing fall into her. The wisdom tradition is strong. And in some Jewish and Christian circles, wisdom is known as the divine feminine. And she even has a name, Sophia, the Greek word for wisdom. And that word, Sophia, appears several times in our text this morning. And this is how the author of James writes about her. Gentleness is born of wisdom. She has nothing to do with vanity, envy, or selfish ambition, which only lead to disorder and wickedness of every kind. Wisdom is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, willing to yield, full of mercy and good fruits, without a trace of partiality or hypocrisy. Now, I don't know about you, but that makes me just want to take a really big, deep breath. When we look at our world, we read the headlines or hear the news, or as we experience our day-to-day ordinary lives, it becomes apparent that there are so many things of which we are in need right now. Rest, peace, mercy, justice, kindness, compassion. But of all of the things that we seem to need, the thing that perhaps we need the most, that which undergirds all of the others, is wisdom. In our culture, wisdom is often measured by or even confused with human intelligence and the pursuit of knowledge. And this confusion can lead us to seek many of the wrong things and even follow those who do not have our best interest in mind. I would argue that without wisdom, knowledge is just the collection and storage of information. Without wisdom, intelligence runs the risk of being puffed up and self-serving, a way to measure oneself over and against others, instilling a sense of self-superiority. Yes, both knowledge and intelligence are lacking without wisdom to guide. For wisdom is not bound by age or chronology or circumstance or setting or education. In fact, wisdom is not something that is possessed at all, nor can it be contained or controlled or kept for oneself. It is not something that can be pursued as if it was someplace out there, somewhere. Wisdom is that which works quietly, behind the scenes, providing the foundation of almost everything else. One can see wisdom at work all around us if we simply pay attention. And in our text this morning, we are told about wisdom's attributes. We are also told a few things about what wisdom is not, what wisdom does in the world. Wisdom moves away from diatribes, from fear, away from hatred and self-centeredness. These are antithetical to the influence and the ways of wisdom. Wisdom's fruit is peace. And peace is not the absence of bad things, but a wholeness, completeness, a flourishing, and even comfort in the midst of all things. And perhaps this is one of the reasons why Jesus had the habit of welcoming children into the middle of places and spaces they would have otherwise not been welcomed in the ancient world and perhaps maybe even in ours today. It is as if Jesus says, here they are. This is the way of faith, the way of wisdom. Here there is no pretense. Here there is no arrogance. Children know when they need help. They are not afraid to ask. They're not afraid to risk, to love, to accept, to try. And what is that, if not wisdom? The church, I think, needs this word right now. The church. In a religious setting where it seems as though the broader church has bought into the competition of capitalism. the project that we are stewarding forward, and let us not mistake, that is exactly what we are doing as church. We are stewarding this forward. We should be something different. It should not be about building a name or a network, a brand, or an empire. It should never be self-serving. It has to be more than that. It should be the epitome of cooperation, of risk, transformation of the world through the unending love of God, who is wisdom itself. The Reverend Barbara Brown Taylor writes, "The only wisdom that interests the author of James is the wisdom from above, which has nothing to do with having good ideas and everything to do with living good lives. Wisdom from above focuses on the needs of others, not on its own self-establishment." So yeah, maybe that's what has been lost somewhere along the way. So as I read and reread and studied this week, I kept coming back to this one question. So where can she be found? This wisdom. I don't think she's hiding. And maybe it starts with this. Wisdom is discovered with eyes that behold beauty and abundance. Wisdom is curiosity. Wisdom is taking the time. Wisdom is waiting. Wisdom listens first. She gives the pause that allows space for something new to be seen, to be born. Wisdom knows when to not just push ahead with a yes just because it is what is expected. Wisdom sometimes is a hearty no. And yet wisdom also knows when it's time to move. Wisdom understands that it's not only okay, but sometimes it is necessary to turn back. Wisdom knows that not everything is achievable, not right now, in this moment, not yet. Wisdom seeks that which can be done and searches for partners to help accomplish it. After all, most results are better when done in community. Wisdom knows that the old way is not necessarily bad, nor is it necessarily good. Wisdom understands that sometimes the old way is just the way it was and has something to teach us about a new way that can be made by walking. Wisdom knows that sometimes we just have to sit down and breathe. And that is enough for the day. Wisdom knows that there are moments when what is needed most is a snack and a nap. Wisdom is the understanding that it is okay to simply let go. Wisdom is the discovery that letting go is not failure and is always better than squeezing the life out of something. Wisdom trusts that you indeed do know some things. But wisdom also knows that I don't know it all. Wisdom cries, laughs, willingly feels all the feels. Wisdom asks for help and seeks the counsel of those who are also guided by her strength. Wisdom knows that being spectacular is actually overrated. Wisdom sees magnificence in the ordinary, in being ordinary. Wisdom finds that being us, from the core of who we are, is exactly who we are meant to be, and ultimately, who we are becoming. Wisdom understands that we are human beings, not human doings. Wisdom knows that sometimes the easiest answer and way are indeed the answer and the way. Wisdom welcomes falling short. Wisdom knows that it's never too late. Too late to apologize, too late to begin again, too late to start something new, too late to try, too late to go down a new path. It's never too late. Wisdom comes to grip with the fact that Christianity is not a salvation plan, a way to success, or a set of right beliefs. Wisdom knows that the faith of Jesus leads to life for all, not just some. And it is pure, peaceable, gentle, willing to yield, full of mercy and good fruits, without a trace of partiality or hypocrisy, envy, and selfish ambition. So, friends, where is wisdom? Wisdom is present. She's right here, all around us, and even within. She always has been a companion on this journey we call life, and she will always be here. Wisdom. Can you see her? Can you hear her call? Let us follow in the way of wisdom. Amen.